Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of NEWSWAVE, written, produced and recorded in the heart of Cornwall by the team here at Chaos Radio. You might notice I am not Tom Howe. I'm your host, Bryna Jordan, sitting in for Tom Howe this week. And I'll be guiding you through some of the most insightful guests and exciting news content that we have enjoyed across Chaos Radio this past week. On today's show, we hear from Devon and Cornwall Police and Crime Commissioner Alison Hernandez as she explains why she's urging the government to keep Devon and Cornwall Police independent. We also welcome Chris Hatton from Bodmin Railway, who tells us more about their exciting summer plans and what's on for the rest of the year. Blaise Hinshelwood, Fundraising and Partnerships Officer at YMCA Cornwall, tells us about an exciting new Move-On Bursary to help their residents take the next step into independent living. We also take 2 minutes out to chat to Claire Geiner, Charity Manager at the 2 Minute Foundation, all about the little things we can do not only to look after the planet, but also ourselves. We also hear from Kenny Darnell Jr., the manager of Paolo's Circus, who are here in Cornwall bringing magic and excitement to families. And if all that wasn't enough, we headed to the Lost Gardens of Heligan earlier this week to chat to none other than naturist and wildlife presenter Steve Backshall. He catches us up on how his summer has been, chats about the new Natural History GCSE, and we even had time to play a game of Would You Rather.
NEWSWAVE.
Residents across Devon, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly have overwhelmingly opposed plans that could see Devon and Cornwall Police merged into a larger South West force, with more than 70% of respondents to a recent survey rejecting the proposal. Police and Crime Commissioner Alison Hernandez says local policing, public confidence and community-focused decision-making must be protected. She joined Tom Howe to explain why she's urging the government to keep Devon and Cornwall Police independent.
NEWSWAVE.
Alison, thanks so much for joining us. Just to bring some of our listeners up to speed, residents across Devon, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly have overwhelmingly opposed plans for Devon and Cornwall Police to merge with a larger force. And this has prompted you, as Police and Crime Commissioner, to urge the government to protect local policing and community-focused decision-making. Why is it so important to you that Devon and Cornwall Police remains an independent force?
Well, there's a few things really. One is we are financially sustainable. So we're not one of these forces that are falling over like a number of the much smaller forces are. The funding formula for policing isn't right, does need to be changed, but we are stable and we've got, plans for the next few years. We're financially stable, not going to fall over. So firstly, we're viable as an option. Secondly, we are the largest police force in England, which means both physically in its geography and also the road network. I mean, we've got 13,500 miles of road in Devon and Cornwall. And, we get hardly any help whatsoever from National Highways, who patrol motorways and strategic road networks because they don't recognise A roads as strategic road networks. So this has all got to be policed by and patrolled by police officers. So for us at the moment, I think the biggest thing for me is it's really clear that the public don't understand what the government wants to do to create bigger forces. So I've written to the Home Secretary to highlight the risk. If you're doing this at the moment, the public don't understand and they don't want it. So you're going to have to think through really clearly how you're going to sell that to the public. So I suppose that's sort of part of the reason why I'm a bit nervous about police reform, because we believe at the moment we could go as big as a whole Southwest regional police force. Cornwall really likes to have their say, and they've only got a fight with Devon at the moment. But you go into the Southwest and Cornwall will be very small by comparison. And our really, what we really care about is the level of resources needed to police Bristol. In fact, we've got a weekend of protests happening just this weekend where our entire region is sending help to Bristol, and we do that on mutual aid and they do pay us for it. But, when we're a one big police force, all those resources will just get sucked up that way. So, and I think Cornwall will, lose out the most. So these are some of the reasons why I'm unsure, nervous and anxious about the changes that may come.
You touched upon it then. We have so much passion in the areas that we live in and work in and enjoy. And this survey has showed that most people that were surveyed don't want this merger. I'm sure it was no surprise, or was it how strongly residents felt about this issue?
Well, we know we attempted a feasibility. When I say feasibility, we looked at, is it possible to merge with Dorset Police in the past? So back in 2018, the 2 chief constables from each force, the 2 police and crime commissioners, me, I was one of them, we all got together and said, because we already shared a lot of back office services. So in austerity, we've now got joined up HR, joined up finance, joined up legal, and then we started doing some operational elements as well. But it's about £100 million worth of shared resource between Devon, Cornwall and Dorset. So we looked at actually what would it look like if we merged the whole lot. And we did a lot of public consultation on that. We did a lot of financial scrutiny on what that could mean, what savings it could create, what would that look like if we did it. And fundamentally, the residents then were on the fence. So it was, it was like a bit of a Brexit, a 51-49. It was quite close. There wasn't a lot of public support, and I didn't at the time believe that it became the right thing to do, because whatever you say about financial savings, I can promise you, out of left field, something unexpected of a cost comes down the line, and that brilliant saving you thought you'd make's gone because you had to fund it for something else and not invest it in what you wanted to. So don't believe a single plan of financial savings that comes from any organisation, because I can tell you the left field cost that comes out of nowhere sucks it up every time in the future. So yeah, they didn't really support it big time then, so I wasn't really surprised that they didn't support it now. But it's overwhelmingly 72% oppose it. Now, bearing in mind only 1,600 residents filled this out, 1,600 just over. But it's not a representative sample of the people across Devon, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, but it is giving me an indication of those interested who have filled out this survey. They don't want it. So yeah, I wasn't that surprised.
Those spontaneous costs as well, that trickles into everyone's sort of daily life. I wonder, to put it into context for some people that might not have filled out this survey, or the aside from this 1,600 that did so, what might be the biggest impacts they might feel in Devon and Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, of course, sort of day to day? What might they be seeing? What might they be losing by a merger?
Well, I think, what's quite interesting, when you look at public confidence in policing across the country, Devon and Cornwall still holds its own okay. While it's been diminishing over the country in every police force for the last sort of 10 years, it's been diminishing at a small, slow rate. But Devon and Cornwall has always remained sort of fairly high. It's in the 70% of confidence and public confidence in Devon and Cornwall. And I think it's because we are, lots of local people join policing. There is a good relationship. Neighbourhood policing is the backbone of this police force. It is the thing that keeps crime low, keeps crime out, and people know who their local PCSO is, the police community support officer, who's a member of police staff but has certain powers, or the local police officer and sergeant in the local team. If you're an elected councillor or a community leader or someone who runs a group, you're highly likely to know who that local policing team is. And I think we respect that in Devon and Cornwall. And I think the worry would be that we'd lose that level of relationship, that level of what we feel is local ownership of the police, because in order to trust the police and give them legitimacy to use their powers, whether that's of arrest, of using force against us, those are the sorts of things that you need to trust the police to use it proportionately, legitimately. And if you lose that trust, you start feeling like you're in a police state, and naturally you're nervous of the police, and we don't want to lose that. I think that's what we worry about. They become distant, they don't become local, and suddenly we're all a bit scared of the police. Because we're not, are we? Let's be frank, even criminals aren't scared of the police. Nobody's scared of authority anymore. So you have to have a good, engaging relationship with local people to get them to tell you what's going on in their communities.
And it must be such a challenge in this day and age. We're a different kind of media company, but with different national narratives and social media trends and things that people follow, and it can be difficult to get real news out there to people as well, against the sort of backdrop of sometimes fake news or disproportionate truth in different things as well.
Oh, tell me about it. Do you know, sometimes I come into my team in the morning and I go, so I read this online last night, or I saw that on a media last night. Is it true? And I have, because otherwise I'm letting it influence me and it might not be true. And I'm not sure. So, yeah, that fake news, it affects us. It affects every single one of us. And we don't know for sure. I mean, if I see another little tag that says AI generated or formula, I don't even want to watch it. I don't want to see it. I just can't believe anything I see anymore. It's really difficult for the public. And that's why you need to have some official truth source, which usually is coming from our institutions, whether that's the local council, whether that's the police, whether that's the fire service. But obviously trust in institutions is fading. We're losing that connectivity of trust in our institutions. So let's just see what happens with the government over the next couple of years. Let's hope Andy Burnham can build faith back into the two-party system, or otherwise, who knows where we'll be.
Alison, we could go down a rabbit hole on this subject. I think we could have our own radio show, I think, or podcast or something. But if I could bring it back to the survey, if I may, you did touch upon it earlier. What message are you taking to the Home Secretary on behalf of the residents that you're fighting for here in Cornwall, but also in Devon and the Isles of Scilly?
Well, one of the reasons I'm taking it to the Home Secretary is I've decided I will fight tooth and nail to the bitter end to ensure I can get the best results for the people of Devon, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. And so it's important for me to understand what they think, and it's important for me to understand what I need to do to act on their concerns. So I am very clear that the Home Secretary needs to understand that at the moment our community are not supportive of the police reform that's planned. And so if they want to do it, they are going to have to articulate and deliver on the sorts of things that our communities want and expect in order to get that over the line, or they might as well not bother, I think, for the next government. So, it's about making sure that the Home Secretary and the government listen to the people of Cornwall, Devon and the Isles of Scilly in order to get things right for us.
I think that's a really important message. What happens next? Is there anything further that local residents can do to make their views known or support that the campaign that you're running?
Well, at the moment, I do have a web page on my OPCC. If any of your listeners wanted to just Google OPCC Devon, my website will come up. I've got a page dedicated to police reform. So if you want to know what I've submitted to the Home Secretary in responses to consultations, if you want to see the results of the survey, they're on there. If you want to see what the proposed reforms are that are coming, it's all found in one place, because no one knows where to look. No one knows what's going on. No one's got a clear idea of the deadlines. You can sign up to our neighbourhood alert as well, which will, send messages out to you. But I'll certainly be making a lot of noise if there are more opportunities to get people's voices heard, so that we fight for the resources that we need down here because of our scale of geography, our peninsula surrounded by sea on three sides, our road network that's so long. Need I go on?
Do you know what? All the things that we live and know and hear about and see day to day. And it is so important that someone's taking this message and relaying it to people who don't live that reality and don't see that reality. So thank you. And I think a lot of our listeners will be sort of logging on and having a look at what you're sharing and the information that's out there and probably forming their own and sending their own opinions as well.
NEWSWAVE.
Thank you to Tom Howe and Alison Hernandez there. Next, let's talk trains, and more specifically, steam trains. This week, Chris Hatton joined Ross Lannon to talk all things Bodmin Railway, from their upcoming events and offers, including steam train weddings.
NEWSWAVE.
It is not just about trains at the railway, which seems an odd thing to say, but you guys run some incredible events and activities which help get people through the doors. I want to talk about some of these events because there's so much coming up. Let's start off with maybe one of the most unusual ones, but one that is most certainly up my street. People may not realise that you often host murder mystery events, don't you?
Yeah, we absolutely do. Yeah, so these have been going for a very long time, actually, 30 years plus. And a Bodmin chap, Chris Batters, he set up a murder mystery company, and they've been playing them on the trains here. They started here. They now do various other railways and loads of other places, hotels and so forth. But they're very popular. They're very popular with kind of work groups or groups of friends, but also couples and to a certain extent families. we've run them for many years, very successfully.
Yeah, this is so cool. I love a murder mystery, been to a few myself around Cornwall. Never been to one on a train though, so it kind of adds a new element of your experience. So talk us through kind of how that works. So they move between the carriages, I understand, telling their story.
That's right, yeah. So basically the coaches we've got a lot of coaches that seat 60 odd people, and then they have maybe two sets of actors within that. They kind of divide in half the coaches, and then they act in the central aisle, but actually they do it very cleverly, and it kind of like fills the space very successfully. So you're obviously sat, you watch that, and then this happens as the train's moving along. So basically when the train gets to the station, they might swap around, and then you see the next scene. They've worked it all out so that every seat sees every scene. Obviously, some of the scenes are on the platform, so the train comes back partway through, and then there's the opportunity for people to quiz the cast. So there's a little period where everyone gets off the train, stands on the platform, and that's lovely on a summer's evening, as you can imagine, milling around asking questions of people. Yeah. And then the final bit, someone gets murdered, obviously, and then you have to guess who it was, work out the clue, see who did it.
Amazing. What a night out this sounds. This sounds like such a great night. So how often are these type of events running throughout the year?
Two or three a month, basically. So August, September, October, which is our main running bit. There are some around Christmas, I believe, and then, start again next year in June, July time.
Fantastic. I love it. So murder aside, let's move on from that. Some of the other events which you also host at Bodmin Railway, for any foodie fans out there like myself, I hear that you do a cream tea service on the train. Now tell me about this, because this sounds like heaven to me.
Yeah, any lover of scones and cream and jam would enjoy this. So you turn up. These are generally on Sunday afternoons. So you come along. Obviously, you've got a seat booked in one of our lovely coaches, and then the cream tea is served at your seat. Lovely China dinner service, and cream tea, cups of tea, coffee as you desire from the lovely waiting ladies, and then you get to eat that as the railway line goes by. So you see the whole line do both branches. It's a couple of hours. It's a very nice way to spend an afternoon, I can tell you.
That's incredible. So you can just stay on the train. You don't have to get off at all. Yeah. You do the loop, eat your cream tea. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sign me up, please. Sounds amazing. We've covered murder. We've covered cream tea. What else is going on, Chris?
So we have some other events. We've got a steam shanty evening. So we have a lovely shanty singing band that come from various parts of Cornwall. There's one of them, I think, in September. So that's a really nice evening, particularly if the weather's nice, lovely. So we go down to Bosgarn station for that, because there's a kind of a grassy area beside the Camel Trail. Everyone gets off the train and a bit of a sing-song, and then back up again. That's very popular. And also we have a bit more of a railway-orientated event. So at the end of September, there's a big diesel running weekend, big diesel gala. So we have all of our own big diesel engines running, and then also some visiting diesel locomotives are coming this year to make a really big event out of that. So we're excited about that. There's lots of planning going on for that at the minute, as you can imagine.
Yeah, lots.
Working out that. So that's a really good event. I think because our railway's so steep, they have to work very hard. So often if you go to another railway, these diesels are ticking over really. But here, like, you have to get up the hill kind of thing, get on with it.
It sounds like you guys really have got something for everyone. You've got it covered here, because I know you run at certain points throughout the year. There's often like kid focused events, and then you've got more family events as well. There's something for everyone. Yeah,
that's very much what we set out when we planned the timetable, is to set out something that everyone's going to specifically enjoy, get something out of.
Exactly. And hey, talking of things that people may not be aware of, and this blew my mind when I read about this, you can also hire Bodmin Railway, guys, as a wedding venue. Now, it doesn't sound much more magical than this. Tell me about weddings at the railway. Have you had many of them, and how does this work? What does it actually look like?
So we're actually extremely flexible about this. Like, we've got a train set, you can make of it as you will. We don't run every day. We're not open every day through the year. Obviously, we vary, particularly in the kind of shoulder bits. So like May, June kind of time, and like September kind of time. There's loads of days when we're closed, and then people can come here. And we've done a few. I wouldn't say we've done loads, but we've done a few. And we're very bespoke. We're very flexible. There's various spaces here you can hire for the ceremony or for the celebration, the reception. And then there's various options. We're basically very flexible, really, Ross. Actually, like, we've got a railway, and we'll sort the rest out to suit what you want. We've had some lovely events. We've had like external caterers. We've done catering. We've had weddings where the train moved and weddings where the train didn't move, different trains, different types of train, different people.
Fantastic. This is like, we were talking off camera, weren't we, before the interview, just about kind of, we live in a day and age now where if you don't use it, you lose it. And this is a prime example of you guys kind of utilising your facilities there. You're branching into all these different areas and opportunities. You know, I love to see this. This is so great. I've got to ask you as well, I'm putting on my kind of accessibility hat now. For those listening that maybe want to visit you, in terms of accessibility, whether they're a wheelchair user, or I know certain events you run special kind of SEN sessions. Talk us about the accessibility at the railway.
Yeah, so it's basically relatively accessible. There are some events for which it's slightly more awkward to, just because of the nature of the coaches, they're not very wide aisles. So that is a bit of a limiting factor, but we are overcoming that currently in our workshops. We are building a coach that has got much better accessibility. Like we've cut out a load of the side and we're putting in big double doors to get disabled people in and out. So that will come out. We're aiming for next year for that, and that will open up the accessibility options greatly. At the minute, we've got a coach, which is the most recent one we refurbished, which is very pleasant. There's a bit of a sort of an open area by the bar, and we've done all of our events, but we've amended where we can to fit into there. We do quite a bit, as you say, about like quiet trains at particular events, so like the Santa train and so forth, just with certain people's needs in mind. So yeah, we try and make it, obviously it's not, when it was made it wasn't inherently accessible, but we're making it as accessible as we possibly can.
Of course, yeah. And again, that's what, as a wheelchair user myself, that's what we appreciate. You can't always access everything, especially when things are kind of older and harder to adapt, but where changes can be made, efforts are being made to try. So that's brilliant. That sounds great. Chris, it's been so nice chatting with you all about the upcoming events and what you guys get up to. Give us a kind of final plug. Anyone who's maybe planning a day out in Cornwall, what would you say makes Bodmin Railway worth putting on their itinerary?
So I think I've come here with my children and I work here every day, but when I come here as a passenger, like I'm always surprised by how very pleasant it is. Like everyone's choosing to be here. Everyone's loves it, brimming with joy for the place. Is lovely and relaxing going for a ride on the train, to the extent that last time we went I nearly fell asleep in the coaches because it's just so very, very lovely and relaxing. It's a very charming place.
NEWSWAVE.
Thank you very much to Chris Hatton and Ross Lannon there. If you'd like to hear the full edit of this interview, you can head over to our Mixcloud page by visiting our website chaos.radio and clicking catch up. You're listening to NEWSWAVE here on Chaos Radio with me, Bryna Jordan. And I want to know, do you have 2 minutes? The 2 Minute Foundation are environmental educators encouraging us all to take 2 minutes out of our day to do something that not only benefits the planet, but ourselves too. Charity manager Claire Geiner joined me to explain more and to talk about how we can all make a difference to the Cornish coastline this summer.
NEWSWAVE.
So we are a national charity that we started here in Cornwall way back in 2012, and we started with our very first campaign, which was the 2 Minute Beach Clean campaign, which basically was set up because the founder, a guy called Martin, he was confronted by the plastic problem and just thought, you know what, we can all do something to help this. We don't want to be walking around on beaches that are covered in plastic. And so he put a tweet out back in the days of Twitter and said that he was going to do a 2 minute beach clean. He was going to spend 2 minutes cleaning up litter from the beach, and who would want to join him? And it became this humongous global movement almost overnight. And people were sort of hashtagging from all over the world saying, oh, I might do a 2 minute beach clean, or I've got 2 minutes, I can join in. And it very quickly became apparent that this idea that everybody can play a part, it doesn't take loads of time to make a difference, really does add up. And it soon became clear that this needed to be a thing, more than just an off-the-cuff comment that went a bit viral and then died a death. It needed to be made into something more.
It's absolutely brilliant. And for it to come from just a tweet all those years ago is absolutely amazing. And it shows the power of social media. But I think it also shows that as humans, we all have a desire to want to protect the planet we live on.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think people need spoon feeding, actually. And sometimes when you're confronted with such a massive problem, whether it's climate change or plastic pollution or completely unrelated to the environment, whether it's homelessness or famine, when it's such a massive problem, if you're not given little steps to help, it feels too overwhelming. You don't know what to do. You kind of can't tackle the water crisis by just doing one thing. So I think there was a huge amount of that desire, I guess, for someone to tell people what to do and to look to someone to say, well, actually, what can I do in a very short amount of time when I don't have any knowledge or I don't have any special skills? Or can this still be something that I can get involved with and help with? And you're right. If it was such an off-the-cuff comment at the time, and who knew that 15 years later this would be where we would be.
So we're right in the height of these summer holidays. What kind of impact does the influx of visitors have on Cornwall's beaches, and both positive and negative?
Yeah, it's a really great question, actually. And I think there's a big, feeling within Cornwall from people that live here year round that tourists bring nothing but trouble. And I think we need to flip that on its head. And really recognise all the benefits that tourists do bring to Cornwall. Not least for me, I think one of the best things that having visitors allows is that our audience grows. So not just as a charity, but anyone in Cornwall that has something they want to say, all of a sudden we've got lots more people to say it to. We're not just in our echo chamber doing our own thing, influencing the people around us. We've got an opportunity to show who we are, and for that to then ripple effect back in places inland. And I think that's a really, really powerful thing. Where else are you given a platform other than social media where lots of unusual people find you, people that wouldn't normally come across you? So I think that's really powerful. And I think we underestimate that, actually. The downside, I guess, of having more people on the beaches and the parks and the moors everywhere is that more people does equal more litter. And we're very lucky, really, in Cornwall that the majority of people, they know the information now. They if they go to a picnic at the beach, they take their litter home with them. Of course, not everybody, but the people that don't are the people that just don't care. They're not necessarily doing it because they don't know anymore. That message has got out there. The same message hasn't necessarily made it to the rest of the country. So we do find an increase in what we call picnic litter. So it's literally the crisp packets, drink bottles, sandwich wrappers, whatever it might be. And of course, a lot of it is what we call unintentional littering. So it might be that they've got a big bag of food wrappers at the end of the day. The bins are full, so they put them next to the bin, not realising that here we have seagulls that will, of course, rip that bin to shreds, or we have wind that will, of course, blow that bin all over the place. So we do see an absolute increase in that litter. What we don't see so much in the summer, funnily enough, though, is the ocean plastics, which normally is our bread and butter here in Cornwall. Every beach cleaner around the southwest will know that the majority of stuff we pick up is the ocean plastics. It's the stuff coming in on the tides. But because we have the tiny waves and not so much wind, and the currents are doing a slightly different thing in the summer months, we don't get that. So it just shifts. There's still lots of litter to pick up, but it's a different kind of litter than we normally see year round.
What kind of effects can this picnic litter have on wildlife and the marine environment?
So anything that's left where it shouldn't be can cause harm. And that can be whether it's a plastic bottle, for example. If the lid's not on, an animal could go into it and then not be able to get out of it. We see that quite a lot. We see a lot of animals that have ingested what they shouldn't have. For example, an empty coffee cup. If a tiny little mouse or a tiny little something goes into a coffee cup and drinks the dregs of coffee, that could be really catastrophic on their poor little digestive systems. But of course, also plastic breaks up into lots and lots of pieces over time. So a plastic bottle left in the environment will break up into many, many pieces of microplastic, which can then get ingested by lots of animals. So, I guess that's one massive downside of having litter in the environment. There's many, many, but from the wildlife point of view, that's really kind of the worst of it. But on top of that, one of the things that we get littered frequently that people still don't realise is litter is fruit cores. So you might have a banana skin, for example, if you've had a banana, or if you've eaten an apple and you throw the core in a hedge, or you've thrown that banana skin in the hedge, or you're eating, a chocolate bar and a bit falls on the floor. There's this whole kind of psyche that thinks, it's food, it's natural, it will break down. But actually, it's really quite damaging to a lot of the wildlife that we have here as well, because a banana skin isn't endemic to the UK. The animals here don't know what to do with a banana skin, so they'll eat it, but their bodies aren't designed to digest that kind of thing. Same with even an apple core. If you were to throw an apple core in the sand dunes, a sand dune is never going to grow an apple tree. So the animals that live within the sand dunes aren't adapted to survive whatever those apples can do. So actually, even these things that people think are natural and can therefore biodegrade, yeah, sure, they can. But what damage are they going to do in the process?
How can listeners get involved and make a difference in just a couple of minutes? And also, do they need any specialist equipment or anything to bring with them?
No. So, yeah, you're right. You don't need a long time to make a difference. And that's kind of what we talk about, really, is that everything added up makes a difference. If everybody in the world just spent 2 minutes doing a thing, whether it's litter picking or whether it's even reading a book or walking, whatever, if everyone in the world did it for 2 minutes, it would have a huge impact. And that's what we're working with, really. We know that people out there can mobilize, and we know that there's a community of people all taking steps every day, small 2-minute steps to make a difference. You don't really need anything specialist in order to go off and do a 2-minute beach clean. It doesn't need to take 2 minutes. It can only take 2 seconds if you want to. It's really just that kind of conscious action of doing something. It's walking past a piece of litter on the floor and seeing it and picking it up. That's all it needs to be. And then that means that piece of litter isn't going to go off and cause harm. What I would suggest is that if you are doing a beach clean, you make sure you wash your hands or sanitize after picking anything up, even ocean plastics. And I think that's, again, something that maybe not a lot of people realize, but once plastic has been in the ocean, it only takes about 24 hours for that piece of plastic to grow enough bacteria that it can cause harm to humans. So, you might be picking up bits of plastic that have come in on the tides, but you can still get some nasty stuff from that. So just make sure you're washing your hands, using sanitizer, preferably a plastic-free sanitizer, because a lot of them contain plastics too. Use one that's not a gel. And yeah, that's really all you need to get involved. But of course, if you did want some extra safety equipment, we have loads of our litter picking stations all over Cornwall. There's not many beaches now that don't have a litter picking station. They're also all over Dartmoor. So if you did want to borrow some litter pickers, the grabbers and some bags, you can go and find your local station, borrow the bits, put them back when you're done and ready for the next person. But it doesn't take much to really, really make a difference, especially on a busy beach day. Just a couple of minutes, you'll really see the amount of litter that you've removed from the environment, and you get that great little dopamine hit.
I fully get the dopamine hit. I mostly in the winter, I love to do a little bit of a beach walk, like a little wintry stroll along the shore. And I will always have a little bag with me just in case if I see anything, I'll pop it in my bag. And I'm like, look at that. I've just done the beach as I've just been having a nice little walk with the dogs or something. It's like simple little things like that can make such a difference, can't they?
Yeah, they make a difference to us, but they make a difference to the planet. So what's not to love,
Exactly. And finally, Claire, if there's one message you'd like locals and visitors to Cornwall to remember when they are enjoying our beaches this summer, what would it be?
I think, cheesy as it is the leave nothing but footprints. I think that's a really good thing. If you can take stuff to the beach, you can take it away from the beach. And that doesn't mean leaving a bag of rubbish next to a fold bin, put it in your car, take it home. And I think just gently being kind to people that maybe aren't doing the same thing. I don't think there's any space really for being aggressive to people that are littering, but perhaps let's lead by example and really show that the community of Cornwall care about our beaches, and that will filter out to everybody that visits here. They come here because it's beautiful. No one's coming here to destroy Cornwall. The visitors aren't coming thinking, how can I ruin this beach? Let me leave a load of litter all over it. Nobody's doing that. They're doing it because they're not aware that they should be doing something different. So let's be kind and considerate and lead by example.
Brilliant stuff. And quickly, how can people find out more about the 2 Minute Foundation and have a look at some of your other campaigns?
Oh, we'd love for you to find us. We're on the internet, 2minute.org. We've got socials, 2 Minute HQ. Reach out to us, get in touch. We love to chat to people. And there's tons of information out on our website.
NEWSWAVE.
If you're feeling inspired by Claire's message and the 2 Minute Foundation, you can find out more information online by simply searching them up. YMCA Cornwall has announced a new Move-On Bursary to help residents take that next step into independent living. That's all thanks to a £5,000 grant from the Skipton Charitable Foundation. The fund aims to remove some of the barriers young people face when leaving supported accommodation, helping to cover the cost of essential household items, training opportunities and even driving lessons. Blaise Hinshelwood, Fundraising and Partnerships Officer at YMCA Cornwall, joined me to tell us more.
NEWSWAVE.
With this funding from the Skipton Charity Foundation, what our plan is to sort of bridge that gap from when a resident leaves YMCA Cornwall, normally after around 2 years on our site here in Penzance, they'll be moving into sort of independent living arrangements, and often there are loads and loads of barriers related to that transition. Part of this bursary will be providing funds specifically for furnishing the new house, so it could be things like kitchen essentials, it could be just furniture for their living room or for their room. It could also also be sort of help with, one example could be someone's just joined, just started a new job, and they maybe need some help with driving tests to be able to go to that job, to commute to their job. The Move-On Bursary could help with paying for some of those driving tests. It's a whole range of lots of different things that are going to just alleviate some of the barriers for our residents as they are moving out of YMCA Cornwall. Without this support, it's sort of like just adds another barrier that makes it just that much more unattainable for someone to be able to sort of move out and find their own independent living arrangement.
It's kind of like taking on a little bit of that burden, I guess, or a little bit of that admin for something that is already a very stressful time for anyone. And I'm sure it might be tenfold for someone that's been with YMCA Cornwall.
If I could give you an example of someone that actually will be benefiting from this Move-On Bursary, it's quite a nice story. It's basically, we had a resident arrive about a year ago called Hattie. She came from a family where basically it was quite a traumatic childhood, a fair amount of familial neglect. Her parents actually decided to move away, but they told her that she wasn't able to move with them. So she was made temporarily homeless. She moved into some emergency accommodation. It was not suitable accommodation for anyone really to be able to set up their own, to be able to engage in education and training and try and build a future. Hattie then arrived at the YMCA after being referred to us, after leaving that emergency accommodation, with lots of support from our housing support officers, one-on-one, sort of personalised guidance and advice. We provided her a safe place to be living, to put some roots for a bit, and also helped her to engage in education, basically, in college. So this September, she's going to be moving to Plymouth to start university. She's going to be studying gaming, animation and arts, which is just really inspiring. And part of this Move-On Bursary is basically going to be helping her to cover her deposits, the accommodation that she'll be staying in, and also helping her to move her things to Plymouth, because without the YMCA, she has no support system there ready to help her do that. Things like this, really, that are without that support network, it just, the barrier is almost insurmountable to be able to sort of build an independent future, to be able to engage in education like that. So yeah, we're really happy that this Move-On Bursary is going to be able to help.
That's such a lovely story, and I do wish Hattie the best of luck up in Plymouth during her uni course. What are some of the challenges that young people can face when transitioning from supported accommodation to independent living?
One major challenge that we've really identified here at YMCA Cornwall has actually been sort of the lack of incentivization for people living in supported accommodation to engage in full-time work. The way that PIP and housing benefits work is that once you go over a 16-hour-a-week working schedule, there's quite a dramatic reduction in your housing benefits. For lots of young people, that then basically means they're earning because they're working this 40-hour week, but then they suddenly have to pay so much more in terms of like all of their costs, their rent, their bills, their council tax. It all suddenly just spikes up. What we found is this has actually disincentivized lots of people to work. Sadly, what we have is currently a system where basically people living in supported accommodation could actually be better off by not properly engaging in work. And then once they do arrive at sort of the 2-year period when they leave YMCA Cornwall, if they haven't been incentivized to engage in if they haven't been incentivized to hold down proper job, it's a massive sort of cliff edge that they face when they do then suddenly have to leave and try and find this 40-hour job. Compared to the national average, the rise in youth homelessness in Cornwall over the past year, I think it's a 23% rise, compared with the national average is a 3% rise. So it's like massively disproportionate, the way that the housing crisis is affecting Cornwall specifically. And I think the key thing is basically engaging our residents with education, with training and paths to employment, to then put them in the best position to go forward once they do finish the 2 years at YMCA Cornwall.
How does YMCA Cornwall support young people to build the confidence and skills they need to go on and flourish?
We've been running for 149 years, almost 150 years. Next year is our 150th anniversary. And yeah, we basically support young people in Cornwall who have been exposed or are experiencing homelessness. And they often arrive with like a history of trauma, family breakdown, domestic abuse, issues with alcohol and drug addiction. Basically, we provide 51 supported accommodation units. That's quite a big chunk of the supported accommodation units in the whole of Cornwall. Last year, we had 93 young people that stayed in our accommodation throughout the year, and we always have 100% occupancy. We have quite a big waiting list as well. I think it's on we've got 48 people on our waiting list at the moment. That's doubled in the past 2 years. So that's just a reflection of sort of the challenges that we face. When a resident arrives at YMCA, they receive personalised one-to-one support. This can consist of basically budgeting advice, independent living skills sessions, so like cooking and how to establish a routine. We also provide basically as much support as possible to help residents to engage in education, training, and also paths to employment. We provide mental health guidance, also physical health guidance. Each resident will have a tailored mentor, so that'll be a housing support officer who works with them throughout their whole time at YMCA. They get to know them really well on a really personal basis. We basically just provide safe space for people with really traumatic histories, really traumatic pasts, to be able to find their feet again and then also look towards the future. Think about a future where they are living independently and able to thrive. That's our goal at YMCA. We also do provide drop-in sessions for anyone between the ages of 16 to 24 that would like some advice on housing in general. You don't have to book, you can just come. You can book as well, it can be over the phone. You can come down to our site in Penzance. We're just here to basically provide as much support for young people that are trying to work through this housing crisis that we're experiencing.
If anyone would like to follow along with what you're up to, or maybe get in touch, maybe they know a young person who might need your support, how can they do that?
If you would like to get in touch with us, you can contact us via our website, which is just YMCA Cornwall. You could also come down to our site in Penzance. We're at the Orchard, which is on Alverton Road in Penzance. Also our social medias, our Instagram is YMCA Cornwall, and same with our Facebook and our LinkedIn. The way our referral system works, if someone does want to seek advice or maybe potentially become a resident at YMCA Cornwall, you can do self-referrals. You can also refer a friend, and that would work in the same way. You either do it through our YMCA website, you either come and drop in and speak to us, or we do also take referrals through Cornwall Campus as well.
NEWSWAVE.
Thank you very much there to Blaise. And if you want to find out more about YMCA Cornwall, you can head to their website, ymcacornwall.org. Now, how do you feel about the circus? Well, Paulo's Circus are back in Newquay for another year, right up until the 5th of September. Kenny Darnell Jr. from Paulo's joined Tom Howe after opening night.
NEWSWAVE.
I suppose, first of all, because it is radio and people can't see where we are, would you mind introducing yourself and telling me a little bit about the work that you do as well, please?
Hello there. Yeah, of course, why not? My name's Kenny Darnell Jr. and I'm the manager of my family's business right here in Newquay, Cornwall. Well, that's visiting Newquay right now, and that would be the circus. We are here on our 27th year of visiting Newquay. Yeah, here we are at the circus at the former Dairyland site, which is now called Tresillian Barton, but was once and for many years known as Dairyland.
Yes, indeed. Right, tell us about this circus and your show for 2026, Circus, as well.
It is, yes. So we're on our Circus tour for 2026, and it's very much a very classical circus show, from aerial performances to jugglers to wire walkers to hand balancers, all the very classical elements you would find in a circus, and a clown as well. So we removed the big wheel this year, removed the lasers, and we stripped it very much back to what would be classed as a very traditional circus. We've created something that I think everyone from 2 years old to 102 years old will enjoy.
My 3-year-old was here and was captivated the whole time. I didn't see any 102-year-olds, but I'm sure there were some in the crowd, perhaps. You talk about it being a traditional circus, and this particular circus has been going for quite a few generations, hasn't it?
We have been, yeah. Well, my family started in circusing around 1816, so quite some many years ago now, and we've been running circuses for well over 100 and I think around 120, 130 years. We've been running our own circus now, so quite some many years.
but Newquay, you keep coming back now, 27 years, like you said. It's a bit of a spiritual home for you.
Newquay, yes, Newquay has and will always be the home of the circus, although we actually have a second home coming up as well. We'll be moving to Exeter at some point in the future when the building, the circus, has its opening. So yeah, Newquay and Exeter, the two homes for the circus in the southwest.
And how amazing is that, given the current climate and the way people have to be so careful with their money, and we're seeing some traditions fall by the wayside, that you're able to protect circus and performances like this with purchasing a building like that and continuing tours like this very one?
Yeah, continuing tours just like this for now, until we do have the building up and running and all happy and as it is, as we hope it to be, And yes, a museum and a circus museum and a circus school. So the circus museum will be the easiest bit because my family has we've acquired a large collection of circus items, we could say, over the years. So we'll be putting a lot of our own collection in there and reaching out to friends and family and other circuses to help along with that. I'm really looking forward to it. Continue the circus tradition into the next generation. And I feel that's the way that my family have to go. No more intense, rather now it's let's go to bricks and mortar.
And what is it about a Cornish crowd that keeps bringing you back as well? Because it was another sold out, well, it looked like another sold out evening. There was plenty of bums on seats.
Yeah, I think it pretty much was sold out bar a couple seats. I love Cornwall. Cornwall will always be such a special place to me. It always has been and it always will be. I have wonderful memories visiting here as a child back in the 90s as well. So going back far before my father was bringing a circus down to Cornwall, my great-grandfather was so many years in the late 80s and early 90s, so I absolutely love it down here.
And we've really enjoyed ourselves this evening. It's an excellent show for people listening that might be enticed to maybe snap up a few tickets or come over while you're here local to us. Where can they find out more information? How long are you here for? All of that kind of thing.
Well, we have shows every day right up until the 6th of September. We don't have any box office on site, but you can find out all the information online at www.paulos, that's paulos.co.uk, and also on our Facebook page or Instagram page. If you just search up Paulo Circus or The Paulo Circus, you can find all the information there you need to for our stay here in Cornwall.
And your colleague was telling me you're doing things slightly differently. You're not just postering. Okay, there's a few up and around in Newquay, some advertising, but you're doing things slightly differently than other circus groups.
So yeah, absolutely. We haven't actually used posters and tickets and ad boards as such for our tours in I think 6 years now. We're the only circus in the UK to pretty much get rid of them all. Although Newquay, I want to say between the whole of Cornwall, we have around 20 posters and I think 10 ad boards. We do that more for nostalgia reasons for ourselves here in Cornwall, and this is the only town, our only visit actually on a whole tour that we do that, and it's rather nice, a little pretty touch I think to the circus past.
Definitely, and we hope that you'll be here for many years to come as well, returning to Cornwall.
For as long as the show is touring, we will be touring around Cornwall for sure.
NEWSWAVE.
And finally, I had a different Monday morning this week, heading out of the office to the Lost Gardens of Heligan, where wildlife presenter, all-round nice guy, and the man with the world's strongest handshake, Steve Backshall, was preparing to start his final round of Wild Heligan shows. I managed to grab 10 minutes with him to chat all about how his summer has gone.
NEWSWAVE.
I'm Bryna Jordan and I am here at the Lost Gardens of Heligan just outside of St Austell, and I am joined by Steve Backshall, who's been doing Steve Backshall's Wild Heligan for the past few weeks. How's it been?
It's been the most wholesome, enjoyable, probably important thing I think I've ever done in my life. We've had tens of thousands of young people here who are now more connected with nature, more likely to see that as part of their future. And I think every single one of us on the team are feeling very, very happy.
Absolutely. And seeing those young minds, and even people that are a little bit older, be so inspired by what you're doing and what you're presenting to them, it must feel great to come to Cornwall and do that.
It really does, particularly as I've, decided to make my home here, and feeling now like this is, part of my kids' heritage. It's part of what's going to be their future, and seeing it's the same for so many other youngsters as well, and being able to share quite how amazing Cornish wildlife is, because we have a lot of stuff here that people simply do not know about. And just seeing their minds blown to know that we have Risso's dolphins and fin whales and octopus and cuttlefish and bobtail squid and nudipranks in our rock pools that they probably have never seen but look like rainbows, has blown lots of young people's minds.
I can imagine. And I'm sure that would blow my mind, because I don't know if I knew half of the things you just mentioned there. What's the best thing about being here? If you could pick one thing from your summer, what's your highlight been?
The responses of the kids. So I do a lot of stuff where I get answers from kids. I ask them questions, try and find out what they know. And the amount of times that you'll get a 4-year-old saying, it's a belemnite, it's an ancient marine cephalopod, and that is the remnants of its fossil life. And you're like, holy moly, my job here is done.
It's really important as well. I've just been talking about the natural history GCSE as well. Do you think inspiring these young minds like this, that could lead to something like the natural history GCSE in the future?
So the natural history GCSE is coming, and it's going to be a massive thing for the kind of kids that we have here. It's not going to be for everyone, but the people it is for, it will be life-changing. I absolutely believe that, because I meet people for whom it is going to be a completely transformative experience every single day. And I am so proud that we've managed to make it happen. It's still a little way off, but it is going to be a thing, and it's going to be so important to the kind of kids who are coming here.
Brilliant. And finally, one word to sum up your summer at Heligan.
Wholesome.
We also played a small game of Would You Rather with Steve as well.
First up, Steve, would you rather a week in the Arctic or in the Amazon?
For my job, a week in the Amazon is better, because if I go looking for a jaguar or a harpy eagle and don't find it, I'll find something else. I'll find a poison dart frog or a bullet ant. And in the Arctic, that is nearly impossible. If it was just for fun, I'd go to the Arctic.
Would you rather be face to face with a great white shark or a grizzly bear?
I've done both several times. They're both awesome. The great white shark is more predictable than the grizzly bear, but the grizzly bear in most occasions is much less likely to be interested in you.
Would you rather have a mountain view or head to the Cornish coast?
I love the Cornish coast better than anywhere else, and my love for it is getting deeper every single day, so that's where I'm going for.
Would you rather eat insects or drink stagnant water?
Eating insects, if you choose the right ones, won't make you sick. The stagnant water will, so I'm going for the bugs.
Some roasted crickets, maybe. Would you rather a big expedition or a family holiday?
So right now, I think the family holiday is front and centre in my mind. Doing things that are going to be awesome for the kids is my number one concern. But I've also been doing a lot of it, and it's really tiring. Expeditions are much less tiring than doing it with the kids.
Crocodiles or snakes?
I love both. I would say that snakes have been my absolute fascination ever since I was knee-high, so I'll probably go with that.
And finally, a regular summer or a summer at Wild Heligan with Steve Backshaw?
This has been one of the best summers I can ever remember, and one of my favourite jobs I've ever done. So I would go summer right here in the Lost Gardens of Heligan. There is nothing regular about that.
NEWSWAVE.
If you'd like to see that interview, head over to our social media pages at Chaos Radio UK on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok.
NEWSWAVE.
Okay, that's all we've got time for on this week's edition of NEWSWAVE. A big Chaos Radio thank you to Alison Hernandez, Chris Hatton, Blaise Hinshelwood, Claire Geiner, Kenny Darnell Jr. and Steve Backshaw, and of course the Lost Gardens of Heligan. And as ever, a massive final thank you to you for listening and helping to support local journalism to thrive. To catch up on all our coverage, as well as check out our extensive back catalogue of interviews and shows, head on over to chaos.radio. And remember, if you have a local news story that you would like to share with us, email news@chaos.radio or search Chaos Radio UK across socials. NEWSWAVE has been produced and presented by me, Bryna Jordan, and is a Chaos Radio production for the Cornwall Community Media Network.
NEWSWAVE.
Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.